Hello and welcome to today's DZone webinar, Beyond the Pull Requests, AI Native Code Review and Incident Resolution. And I'm Caleb Kinchlow, and I'll be your host for today's session. Before we get started, just a quick bit of housekeeping. Today's session is being recorded and we'll send the on-demand recording after the event. And if you have any questions during the presentation, please submit them using the Q&A panel, and we'll try to address as many as we can during the Q&A portion of our conversation. Now, traditional code review alone isn't enough to keep up with the pace of modern software development. As teams move faster, they need smarter ways to maintain quality in response to issues without creating more friction for engineers. So today we'll take a look at how AI native workflows are helping teams adapt to that shift. Now, I'm excited to introduce today's speakers. Ryan Zhang is a senior product manager with Atlassian, where he leads the Dev AI team focused on building next-generational AI-powered development tools. With a background spanning engineering, design, and product strategy, Ryan focuses on helping teams navigate technical complexities while creating better developer experiences. And of course, joining him is Natalie Fuchsmanet, also a senior product manager at Atlassian, working on the Dev AI team. Natalia focuses on building ML and AI-powered tools that help software teams work more effectively. With more than 15 years of experience building products for software teams, she brings deep technical expertise and a strong understanding of the developer experience. Ryan, Natalia, thanks for being with us. I'll turn it over to you.
Thank you so much, Caleb. It's exciting to be here, and thank you everyone for joining. I'm Nat, I'm a lead PM for Dev AI SRE at Atlassian, and I'm joined by legendary Ryan, who leads Dev AI Code Review. So you've heard Atlassian lay down a powerful idea. Acceleration equals intelligence times context. Teamwork Graph is your organization's work model. Every goal, every decision, every line of code, every customer conversation compounding into the richest layer any AI could have access to. And that is a massive unlock. But here's the question. How do you turn all this context into quality software that works in production? Because let's face it, context without a delivery loop is just a really smart library. And velocity without context is just shipping wrong things and breaking production faster. The organizations that will win are the ones that close both gaps at once. Now, we've long known the problem was not really writing code. AI adoption across developers is nearly universal now. At Atlassian, our engineering teams have used the AI coding tools for years now. Yet productivity gains from code generation have really plateaued at maybe 10 to 15%. Now, we can continue making agents faster, but if they don't understand your code base, architecture decisions, dependencies, standards, or the business intent behind the task, you get more 2 AM pages and code that needs rework. A code without context of your organization standards and your production wastes time and increases costs. And this is the gap that we'd like to close. Today, we're going to show you what that looks like. Ryan and I will show you how Rovo Dev turns code review from a bottleneck into a safety net. Then you'll see Rovo Ops in Jira Service Management, helping you with alert and incident response. One closed loop, one platform, from pull request to incident response and back again. Ryan, please take it away.
Awesome. Hey everyone, my name is Ryan, and in the next 15 minutes, I want to show you how Rovo Dev Code Review will help you and the team ship better code faster. Now, every software team wants high quality, consistent, secure code. But the reality is that code review is still very slow, it's painful, and it's inconsistent. We've all heard the stories that pull requests are sitting, waiting for people to review them for hours, if not days. and context switching are killing developers' flow and focus. And the quality of feedbacks varies as well. And AI is not really making it any better. The study that we've seen shows that developers with high AI adoption complete 21% more tasks. They're merging 98% more pull requests, which leads to larger PR sizes and more bugs. It's pushing the review time up by 91%. And it's clear that having humans alone to review pull requests just not scaling. And that's the problem that Rovo Dev Code Review was built to solve. Now, Rovo Dev launched last year for Bitbucket and GitHub customers and has delivered impressive gains for our customers. Rovo Dev is now driving 19% increase in merged pull requests per repositories per month. And developers are saving 2 to 3 hours every week from using AI, not just for coding, but also reviewing their tasks. And this is a massive improvement because developers now have more time to actually work on the important things. Rovo Dev Code Review is the cornerstone for our customers now. It offers 4 key capabilities to remove busy work from the teams. First one is the AI Code Review, which brings fast, consistent code reviews that catches bugs, security issues, code smells, and also giving code suggestions. Then there's acceptance criteria checks, which validates pull requests against the requirements from Jira work items. And then there is customization, which allows teams and developers to define specific rules to customize the agent's behavior. Finally, we've also invested a lot of time and energy in uplifting quality. We've been using Atlassian's internal data to build a machine learning classifier, which helps to keep the valuable comments and reduce noises. And this is just the beginning. And now I want to show you the 2 new capabilities that we're building to reshape how teams do consistent code reviews. Here, the first problem that we want to help solve is code quality standards. We know every engineering team has coding standards. These things could be style guides, security rules, toolings, and accessibility and requirements. But where do they live today? Perhaps they're living in a Confluence page or a Google document from 3 years ago. The problem here is that nobody is enforcing them when they are reviewing pull requests. The result here is that the tech leads are wasting a lot of time writing and repeating the same review comments if they can remember those standards at all. And when standards are violated, the cost is massive. For example, when teams are using non-compliant libraries or violating accessibility standards, there could be costly legal and compliance implications. And this is not us guessing. Our enterprise customers are telling us that this is a big problem to resolve in the age of AI. Now, let's see how Rovo Dev standard enforcement help you to use reviewer to enforce code standards. So this is a newly built control hub for platform and tech leads to manage standards across repositories, teams, and agents. The goal is simple. We want to use AI code review agent to make sure every code change meets the standards that are tailored for your organization. Now you can see a list of standards already applied, and let's try to create a new one. We know that it's hard to create standards from scratch, and this is why we got templates to help you get started. These will cover popular languages, frameworks, and tech stacks. But for now, let's just try to create one from scratch. Now, in this creation view, the first step is to give the standard a clear name and description, so agents know how and when to use the standards in code reviews. Here, we're creating a new Jira standard to enforce code quality. Now, you can then specify where the standards applies. You can apply it to all the repositories, or you can search through targeted repositories by specifying the name, language, and the owner so you can apply them to the right ones. Now, finally, you need to define the rules. This is the place where you can write standards in Markdown, in plain English, to tell the agent what to look for in terms of bugs and issues, and how to suggest the right fixes. This means the platform leads cannot describe what good looks like in plain English and the agent will use them as guidance when they're doing the reviews. Now, everything looks pretty good. You can save it and deploy. And this is just one example. You can see how the same patterns can apply to many different kinds of standards covering security, infrastructure, accessibility, and design, and more. And from here, we just need to wait. And till the next pull requests come in, you can see that standard and code review is at work. Here, Rovo Dev code review will start looking at the standard violations and post comments with suggestions when it finds violations. This is all great, but I think it's not enough, because for platform leads, you actually need to understand how standards are performing. So if we come back to this view, you can evaluate efficacy by looking at resolution rate, which is the percentage of violations that are fixed right in place in the pull requests. You can also look at teams' performance by looking at the resolution rate at the repository level. For example, imagine you have a standard that is performing quite well on average with a high resolution rate, but there are some repositories and teams with lower rates. What that means is, as a platform lead, this is a very clear signal to help you identify teams that needs a bit of help, and you can go and have a meaningful conversation to help them improve and meet the standards. Now, let's do a quick recap on why Rovo Dev is the best tool out there to help you enforce standards. First, we're building a centrally managed governance tool with agents to make sure standards are enforced consistently and teams can now share the same bar automatically across your entire organization. And we are empowering your team to define rules with plain English. That means there's no rejects, there's no custom code. If you can describe what good looks like, your team can now enforce it. We also know that standards are already living in Confluence. So in our upcoming roadmap plans, we are going to help teams import those standards from Confluence, so they never have to rewrite it again. And that means with Rovo Dev, standards will no longer live in a document and die in an archive. The second problem we want to help address is about a different kind of pain, a pain that every developer has felt. That's when they have to manually address code review comments. The current code review experience creates a painful loop. Reviewers leaves a comment, developers have to then context switch, go back to their IDEs, and then make the changes happen. It's just so distracting. Even if developers have an AI coding agent, they still have to check out the code locally and drop what's in progress. But what if the fix just came with the comments? What if we can build the agents and experience to help you fix those problems automatically? And this is why we built AutoFix. And let's see how it works. Let's imagine you have just raised a pull request and you have moved on to your next task. You're in the flow, you're focused, you're making great progress. However, then like 30 minutes later, notifications are coming in. Your teammates and AI agents have left very useful comments on your pull request. They're great, but the problem is what happens next. You probably have to then drop what you were doing, switch context, pull the code locally, and start fixing it in your IDE. Before you noticed, that's probably 2 or 3 hours gone. And it takes even longer to go back to your focus and flow. And this is where AutoFix comes in. Now, you can invoke the Rovo Dev agent directly from the bucket and GitHub with all the context you need to fix the problems. Now, you can triage all the open comments, and this is important. AutoFix is not asking you to blindly accept everything it says. You can choose the comments that you want to fix with the right amount of context to help you make the decisions right here. And after selecting the comments that you want to fix, you have options. You can either copy the suggestions into a single prompt so that later you can give it to your own coding agent on your computer. Or a better way here is to ask Rovo Dev to fix them for you right now. What that does is that it will start a remote coding session. Now think of the session as an agent with its own computer in the cloud, so you don't have to worry about it. It will work autonomously with all the available tools and context it needs, so that you can go back to your own work while the agent is busy fixing the comments. Now, when the session is down, you will receive a notification to come back here and review the agent's work. The session will give you a familiar IDE-style interface with the environment already set up and ready to go. You can inspect the changes, ask Rovo Dev to make further edits if you're not happy with it, and even run tests before updating the pull request. This approach helps balance agent autonomy and human control. And Rovo Dev agent does the heavy lifting, but you're still in the loop to make sure everything looks good. And once you're happy, you can update the pull request. And that's how AutoFix help you accelerate code reviews with less context switching. So why does AutoFix actually work well? Well, firstly, the remote coding session is a key unlock. In the remote session, Rovo Dev will autonomously pull all the context together and fix the comments so that developers no longer have to context switch on their own computer. And secondly, Rovo Dev knows the bigger picture. It understands the entire code base and knows the task requirements from Jira, so it will stay on track. Lastly, Rovo Dev still puts human approval in the loop, so the team is always in control before any changes are applied. So now that's what I have to show for Rovo Dev code review. And let me hand it over back to Nat to show you what happens when code actually hits production.
Thank you, Ryan. Thank you. Thank you, Ryan. Now, Ryan just showed you code reviews being done faster than ever, with the institutional knowledge that used to live in one senior engineer's head, now encoded and enforced automatically. Wow. But every agent you add is another author. More authors means more code in production. And more code means more surface area or more places for something to go wrong. Now, you remember, for most of software history, we followed a familiar pattern. You write code, you fight the review comments, you merge it, you push it through approval gates, you watch it deploy, and then at 2 a.m., someone else's phone goes off. Now, that someone becomes the world's leading expert on a service they've never touched before. I think we all know that someone, right? Now, here is the irony. AI is making the right side of code operations more urgent, not less. More agents, more throughput, more code in production with less human familiarity. So what is the real cost of leaving the right side of code reviews, quality, operations unsolved? Now, for engineers that are joining us, this shows up as unacknowledged alerts, breaching SLAs and triggering escalations. It's hours spent correlating logs from multiple tools, manually piecing together a view of a failure in a system way too complex for any one person to hold in their head. It's all your carefully crafted postmortems that detail root causes, contributing factors, and actionable items, only to see those actions quietly sidelined in the next sprint. Now, for leaders who are joining us, you feel the same problem through a different set of metrics. You feel it in the conversion rate that dropped for hours during the incident and cost you revenue. You feel it in the SLA credits your commercial teams have to issue. Or worse, in the churn report 3 months later that quietly lists experienced service disruption as a contributing factor. Every significant postmortem ends with an estimated business impact number at the bottom. And if incident rate is a function of volume and familiarity, well, you and me know both of those are moving in the wrong direction with AI-generated code. That's what's going to keep both engineers and leaders awake at night. Now, let me show you how Atlassian closes that loop. As alerts land, all of these signals feed into a unified alert console in Jira Service Management. Alerts from multiple monitoring tools are automatically clustered into a single actionable group. So responders see one clear problem to triage, not dozens of noisy notifications. The on-call engineer can then use AI-assisted incident creation to generate an incident that automatically links back to the original alerts. That way, maintaining a complete chain of custody from telemetry to incident. Now we're inside the incident. Here, Rovo Ops runs a root cause analysis across your telemetry and change data, and immediately shows you the most likely affected services and downstream dependencies. Rovo Ops is also assembling hypotheses outlining what happened. Each points at the most likely root cause. The engineer can confirm the hypothesis and make the recommended action. Now, incident is closed. This is where, in most organizations, the learning loop quietly breaks. Now, Rovo Ops automatically synthesizes the incident timeline, root cause, and action items into a post-incident review. These action items capture all the necessary context for an agent or a human team member to take over and finish the task. Here's where Atlassian platform really kicks in. The engineer ratifies that this 2 a.m. learning should become a standard. A new rule is encoded directly into the Rovo Dev standards. And from now on, any pull request that implements this will be automatically flagged in Rovo Dev code review with context from the past incident. The next pull request that touches this gets the benefit of that 2 a.m. learning automatically. Again, for my engineer friends, the hard lesson you learned in the middle of the night is now enforced on your behalf, so nobody has to learn it the hard way again. For leaders, the incident that just cost you real money makes the next one measurably less likely. That's a compounding return on every resolved incident, not just a one-time write-off. Now, at Atlassian, we are also working on alert triage and incident response embedded into your day-to-day workflows in Slack and Microsoft Teams. When alerts and incidents land directly into your Slack channels, Atlassian already knows all the context. What parts of your code are responsible for a problematic component, what code changes and deployments were involved, what business intent drove these changes to production in the first place. The on-call engineer does not start from zero anymore. By the time on-call engineer is awake, AI SRE agent runs multiple investigations in parallel, assembling a brief so that engineers can immediately focus on the work that drives impact. We're stitching all of this context for you, from what was planned in Jira, to what changed in code, to what to look at first based on the business impact. And the best part, this knowledge does not evaporate. It compounds. It turns into organizational standards, and it doesn't depend on anyone remembering to prioritize a task in some future sprint. This is how Atlassian helps you ship more faster without setting the right side of code on fire. Thank you.
Well, I got to say that was very interesting. I mean, I just love what you all are doing over at Atlassian. It's just incredible work. Now it's time for one of my favorite parts is the Q&A section. We have a lot of questions coming in from our audience. And also just a reminder, you can submit your questions using the Q&A panel, and we'll try to get to as many as we can during our session. All right, so we're going to jump to the first question. Keep those questions coming for us. So the first question we have here says, how are you seeing AI change expectations expectations around developers have around code review today?
Thanks, Caleb. I think I can take that. I think what we're seeing here is the AI technology is getting better, and the AI reviewer agent is also getting better, largely because of the amount of context it can ingest and the underlying model capabilities. What you will see, and what we are already starting to see, is that it's more and more capable of capturing the lower level technical implementation details, things like logical bugs, spelling errors, referring to like the wrong functions, and these type of things. And then you have to think about, okay, but is that all? Clearly it's not, because the shift of developers needs to go from spending a lot of time in code reviews worrying about like these low level errors, which can now be more and more delegated to the agent, to level up and think about how you're going to measure impact introduced by humans or AI coding agents against the original intent that came from the team. This intent can be design documents, product requirements, customer requests, to make sure that not only that you're delivering code, because that's now very easy, but making sure that you're developing the right thing for the right people at the right time. So I think that level of shift is going to be expected. The other thing is developers are now going to be more and more worried about the architectural and system design introduced by these code changes. So it actually requires humans to be more vigilant and more skillful.
Now, do you want to speak to that?
Yes, absolutely. Some of the things that come to mind as well as we're thinking about code reviews is all this additional context that is often forgotten. And as we have been talking before as well, when incident is closed, typically a lot of these things are just buried in post-incident reviews. They're filled in, but what happens next is really oftentimes becomes history as well. More of this context that Atlassian has can stitch together for you and bring during the code review process, embedded in and encoded in the standard, just means that we have one live interconnected system that is continuously learning, continuously getting smarter, but also continuously getting more supportive with day-to-day operations that software teams are performing.
Yeah, and to me, that sounds like probably the most interesting aspect of it. So with the next question here from the audience is, one of the themes that we heard today was reducing friction for engineering teams. How do you balance automation with maintaining developer trust and control?
Well, I think that's a really hard one, eh? I think what we've seen here is, like, if you imagine there being a curve, there's the beginning of the work and the agent doing the work, and then towards the end of the work. I think what we're seeing here is like we want to put more rigors and controls over the two, the beginning and end of a workflow, meaning that at the beginning, we want to have the right amount of settings and the experience to help people understand, who can invoke these workflows. Because not everybody can invoke everything, right? Like there's a fine line there. And what can be accessed and what should be accessed for the agent to help them ingest context. Now, the Atlassian Teamwork Graph is built exactly to do that. These days, like, context can be just a pile of documents, but agent actually needs weighted context, meaning that some context, some documents are naturally just more important for the agents and the task at hand. Well, how do you know that without human intervention? So having that teamwork graph, having that team knowledge is really important. But when the agent is doing the work, you actually want it to be autonomous. Like I was showing you guys in demoing the AutoFix experience, you actually want to leave it alone. You actually don't even want it to run on your own computer sometimes if it's capable. You just want to leave it somewhere else, because then you don't have to worry about repo settings and checking out the code and using Git work trees and stuff. So that's where you actually want the agents to be autonomous. And towards the end, then that's where you want actually to bring the individuals back into the loop, making sure that people are understanding the changes, by like looking at the code, but maybe like high level summaries from AI agents as well, and to make sure that they understand it and they can approve it, so that we're making sure like all the changes that's being making is actually up to a standard.
Well said. Well said. Nat, next question here. It seems like this might be for you. It says, incident resolution is traditionally very reactive. What opportunities do you see for AI to make teams more proactive?
Well, you can't really help it, right? At 2 a.m. in the morning, but be a little bit reactive, right? We've all
Of
been
course.
there at different different parts of our careers. Definitely remember that. But back to the question, it's the way that I'm thinking about reactive versus proactive is really becoming that trusted assistant where a human team member is still in the control, is still in the controlling seat at all times as well. What we're really trying to eliminate is all the, I guess, unnecessary times that's spent just chasing the contacts, connecting the dots, finding the information that really should be here at the fingertips, right? Available to you when you start your alert triage or when you looking at this incident and trying to understand, is this a downstream service? Is this even my problem? What is going on here? I know I'm awake, but what do I do with this? Really for us, it's this a really great synergy between a human team member using AI agents for what it's really good at. Bringing the relevant information in the morning, understanding what are the different signals as well, being able to work with enormous amounts of patterns and data. Look, machines are really good at that, right? You can look back at the frequency of the alerts. You can look back at the changes in the metric. And if we can put all of this together into the moment, available to the right person at the right time, all we're thinking about is really getting the job to be done a lot easier, a lot faster, with a much greater satisfaction of the individual in the driving seat, but also with the just enormous impact for the businesses. Imagine where you can actually reallocate all of this time that you're saving, right? By being proactive.
Excellent. Ryan, you want to add a little something to that?
I think another thing that Nat sort of touched on as well was to distill it, right? The agent's only able to make it more proactive if it has knowledge. So like what we have demoed, if you can bring the PIRs into the knowledge base of your team, store it in Team Graph, which allows you to search through context from Confluence, Jira, JSM. Then you have a wealth of knowledge to sort of distill that into like things like standards, which can not just like help people to react to incidents better, but help prevent them from happening in the first place. Like imagine your coding agent have all the knowledge to help it understand how not to write code that's going to incur an incident. And then you also have a reviewer agent that has all this knowledge that distilled into standards to make sure that they're checking, the things that fall through the cracks from the coding agent. Then what that means is you have a funnel that is reducing the amount of instances that can happen to start with. So I think that's another way to help make it more proactive.
Excellent answer. With that, we're actually out of time for our Q&A today. But if you didn't get your question answered, the Atlassian team will follow up. Ryan, Natalia, thank you again for joining us today. This was a very insightful conversation on how AI is reshaping modern development workflows and the way the teams can think about the quality and also higher incident responses. Now, before we wrap up, I'm going to kick it back to you just to let us know how can people continue the conversation and just learn more.
I think there's a few channels that we can support to do so. Obviously, we have the Atlassian website. If you search Rovo Dev and Atlassian, we have our site there, so you can go through the product offerings, the FAQs, and we also have like a very vibrant community on Atlassian community. So there's a few hundred folks there, constantly giving us feedbacks and posting requests, comments, servicing issues. That's another place to go, and we actually monitor that very frequently. Anything else from your end, Nat?
And I just wanted to mention that we actually love talking to customers. We genuinely do. We want to hear your problems. We want to see how we can pivot and improve your workflows and ways of working of software teams as well. So whether you are reaching out to us via support or you've got your customer success manager or account manager there as well to help, please don't shy away. Any question, any piece of feedback, we really want to hear. And we are looking forward to continuing conversations with you all.
Excellent. Oh, and thank you to everyone who joined us today in our webinar. And a reminder, keep an eye on your inbox for the on-demand recording. And we hope to see you at the future D-Zone webinars. Take care.